Happy Saturday, everyone. Hope you're having a great start to your weekend. It's Sean with Paycheck to Portfolio. Today, I'm going to talk about how I stopped living paycheck to paycheck without making more money. First, I'm going to do my portfolio update like I do in every video. My current net account value is sitting at $137,356. My total unrealized gain is sitting at $37,000 or 15.5%. Another great week in the market. Friday, I was up $819 or 0.31%. If you look at my performance tab here in E-Trade, this is the cumulative performance. What's included in this is the growth of the portfolio and any dividends received. This does not include any deposits made. That is reflected in the historical value tab, which we'll talk about next. On my 1-year performance, you can see I'm at 55.88%, basically 56%. The S&P is at 19.5%. The Nasdaq's at 28, the Dow's at 11, and the Russell's at 6. We'll jump right to the 3-year chart. You can see I'm sitting at 85.57% return. The S&P is sitting at 54.7, the Nasdaq 73, the Dow 34.5, and the Russell's basically at 18 there. So you can see how the portfolio has performed over that time. If you look at my historical value, over the last year, the portfolio has grown 34,135. I completely live out of this account. So if you're new to my channel, basically all of my W-2 income rolls into my brokerage account, not a traditional bank account. I invest that full amount. My dividends come in and pay my bills, and what my dividends don't cover, I bridge with a margin loan. And that will keep this cash flow cycle compounding for me, which I'm going to show you next in the process. So I always try to make these concepts pretty easy to understand to the best of my ability with a 10 or 15-minute video. Most people in America are taught to be taxpayers. We're never taught really anything financial in school. We're taught to trade our time for money, to be taxpayers, to pay our bills with our paychecks, to invest the leftovers, and repeat that cycle until we're 65 and we can retire. The average life expectancy currently, and I believe these statistics were updated a couple years ago, is 77 between males and females. So, you retire at 65, you live 10, 11, 12 years, and then unfortunately, you pass on to the next life. And we're trained as young people, I believe, to be consumers and taxpayers. In the Paycheck the Portfolio system, I'm expediting time machine value, essentially. I'm trying to move up my retirement date. And how I do that is I pay bills with assets, and I'm leveraging my assets in my account. I invest full paychecks into long-term growth stocks, closed-end funds, and high-yield ETFs and covered call specific stocks or covered put specific stocks. I want to retire in 5 to 10 years versus, most people in 20, 25, 30 years. I want to live life. I'm never going to stop working. I'm very involved with my church and my family. And so I'll be working just in the capacity that I want to work with my family and living life, essentially. And I'm shifting the mindset from a consumer or taxpayer to a business owner and running my personal finances like any business would. A business takes out a loan. They invest that loan and they produce cash flow with that loan, which ultimately creates the business and keeps the business growing, I guess I should say, to put it in a better term there. This is what my account actually did in July. So starting at the bottom, I just exported my transactions from E-Trade. You can see these are all tagged as dividends. Okay, so this is Cornerstone dividends right here. You can see those dividends came in. I reinvest those dividends, okay, at the NAV price. So some of these I'm dripping at the NAV, which stands for net asset value. You can see Goff here as well was reinvested. Some of these I'm taking as cash to pay my margin interest and my expenses, to eat away at my expenses. And what's going to happen over time is that's going to erode in a good way my expenses, which will allow me to live free from a 9-to-5 job and to live the FIRE lifestyle, which stands for financially independent, retire early. So when you sum everything up, Well, let me go back here just a second. So you see the dividends, you see the reinvestments. If you scroll up my Excel file for July, you'll see my interest payment for margin right here. Currently at E-Trade, I pay 8.44% interest. I've negotiated my interest rate down multiple times, which allows me to create even a better business spread on my own money that's coming in. You can see the interest is for 31 days. It's for the whole month of July. So basically, my key performance indicator is how much cash did I bring in? How much cash did I compound with reinvestments? And then how much cash flow covered my expenses plus some. Okay. So you can see when I sum up this whole file that I'm positive $1,481, even taking into account my reinvested dividends and my margin interest. Okay. So look at this like a balance sheet. A business has income and it has expenses. And at the end of the day, the return on investment is what matters. Businesses measure that in some different ways, but simply that's how I'm looking at my cash flow and how well my system is working. If you look at my expected dividends for the next year in the estimated income tab, you can see that currently I'm estimated to bring in $45,687 of income in the next year. The way E-Trade calculates this is with the funds pay out, some pay out weekly, quarterly, monthly. They take the last distribution that you received and they multiply that out for the rest of the year. And that's how they look forward at your projection. So I need about $100,000 of income to live off of and to break free of corporate America. And so you can see I'm about 45, almost 46% of the way there. So every month, what happens, I'm going to show you one last spreadsheet that we use and you can find on our Discord, which I'll talk about in just a minute. This is my starting portfolio value, okay, which is in my balances section of E-Trade, which you can find right up here if you're using E-Trade. Okay. I have my starting margin debt, my annual contributions, 4% interest rate, just for clarification, annual living expenses, and then I have a drip yield and non-drip yield, okay, where those yields come in are right here, okay. So if you look at the covered call and individual stock ETFs, this comes to about a 54% blended yield, and then you can see Cornerstone and Goff up there. I take conservative estimates. You can see the non-drip, which comes from that cash flow, is 32%, and my drip yield I'm calculating at 21% here, okay. The instructions are clearly outlined down here. This assumes a 10% margin interest rate. It's adjusting for inflation every month, which again is a conservative look at it, in my opinion. And it's only calculating growth on the closed-end funds right here in this calculator. And it's not calculating any growth for these funds. It's just taking the distribution essentially. So in my case, in month one, I start with my gross portfolio value. You can see my drip dividends in this calculator. Again, my portfolio is bigger than this, but this is just to show you the power of compounding with those funds. Drip dividends are $2,393 if I use this exact investment allocation right here, okay? And again, I have more in my portfolio. Non-drip dividends would be $35.93. The first month, you can see in this calculator, it would be $1,045 because it's taking the 10% interest rate. So the cash immediately cutting into my expenses would be $2,548. My monthly living expenses are $8,333. So in month one, you can see the good erosion that happens here. It would reduce my expenses already to $5,785. I would have no margin pay down yet. My margin debt would bridge my expenses. My contributions would come in here, and my net portfolio value would be here. So if you scroll down, and I've frozen the top row there, so you'll be able to see, when you see the zero right here is where my non-drip dividends have fully eroded my monthly expenses with inflation baked in, and I'm essentially free from a 9-to-5 job. Okay. So basically the way that looks is right here. Okay. And then I'm free from the 9-to-5. And after 5 years, the stock market's not linear. It's going to go up and down. This looks at it from a linear perspective. I'll show you my historical values in just a second, then we'll wrap up here. But at the end of 5 years, I'm projected to have about $1.5 million gross and $1.3 million net. Now I'll get some comments in the YouTube that says there's no way you're growing your portfolio like that, but there's three engines to this compounding machine. Okay. There's drip dividends that compound. There's cash flow that comes in and pays bills. But the biggest thing I want you to take away from this video is $660,000 of this growth is coming from my own W-2 income that I would have otherwise spent to zero. And that's what I want to focus on is, again, most Americans invest the leftovers. Okay. In this system, we're fully investing the paycheck on the front end, which is allowing us to compound and break free from a 9 to 5 job. Going to the resources, I offer a membership that you can get these calculators on. We're working at enhancing that. I have a lot of talented members in the group. A gentleman named Fernando I want to talk about specifically in this and thank him for all of his help, and multiple others. A gentleman named Rob, Jeremy, a whole bunch of good people in my Discord that are very, very intelligent and great folks. Judy, a whole bunch of you guys are just, I'm super impressed with. So we're creating this same file, except we're creating a Google Sheets file that will automatically pull the distributions and update the fire calculator based on specifically what you're investing in. So if you want to join the membership, you can. I have some free resources. I have white glove service if you need intensive shoulder to shoulder strategy, and you can set up individual calls with me if you'd like. I'll post all of that in the pinned comments of the video. And I hope you have a great day. I know this was a little bit longer video, but really wanted to show you how you can break free from what I refer to as corporate American slavery. I love this country. I'm a patriot through and through, but I just think we've been taught how to be taxpayers and not to be business people. And hopefully you found this video helpful. Please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.